Welcome to episode 57 of Think Big with Michael Zellner. All positive, no politics. My guest today is Alexandra Nolan. Alexandra is a mom. She's a wife, a self-made entrepreneur, an author, a women empowerment speaker, the founder of City Chic Living Blog, CEO of The Confident Boss. And if that doesn't sound like she's busy enough, she's also a business PhD student too. She received her master's in business from the University of Memphis and an international business studies certificate from Bournemouth University in England. She's also recognized as one of Yahoo's 9 influential influencers to inspire. Welcome to the show, Alexandra.
Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. Tell us something interesting about yourself that most people don't know.
Oh gosh. Okay, here's one. People may know because they can see that I do have a tattoo on my wrist, but I actually have 7 tattoos. But I guess they're just not in places that you can see every day. So most people are shocked when they hear that. They're like, wow, 7. It's not tiny, they're big. I have a very large tattoo on my back and on my hip. And so it's just not, I guess people don't think that whenever they see me. So.
How old were you when you first got your first one?
You know, I was actually 28. So I got through the whole, 16 and going against the parents and getting a tattoo. The reason why I did it is my brother, he passed away when he was 19. He had tons of tattoos. And my parents told us, if you guys ever get a tattoo, you'll be in so much trouble. Well, he started getting them and hiding them from my parents. Which we had a pool. So I don't know why I'm like, they're going to see it in the summer. And so when he passed away in a car accident. The whole family, even my mother, that was so against tattoos, we all went and got one. And you know what they say, once you get one, you just keep going with it. And so, so I have several now.
So you live in Collierville now, but your hometown is South Haven, Mississippi. You went to South Haven Junior Senior High School, graduated in 2004. What good memories do you have of your time in your early life?
Oh gosh. Well, I moved here in high school from Chicago, and it's very different up north. We were more like, I guess it was more of like the skater chick and kind of like, urban, more urban. And then I came here and it was all about cheerleading and a lot of things I really didn't know how to do. So I would say my best memories are meeting my solid group of friends that I still talk to today, and really getting to kind of learn how to do cheerleading and learn how to do all the girly things that we didn't really do much up north, outside. I was in the suburbs, but outside of a major city, Chicago. So the lifestyles are different. The trends were different. And so I got to do 2 sides in my early age.
Didn't you live somewhere else before Chicago too?
Yes, I lived in Nitro, West Virginia. I don't think anyone will know where that is. It's known for its major DuPont plant. And I went to Catholic school there, St. Albans Catholic School, right outside of Nitro. And every time the DuPont plant would have a leak, we would all have to go stay in our homes for however many hours, sometimes for over a day. It was very Twilight Zone-y. Now that I think about it, it was just normal as a kid. But maybe that's where I get my crazy side from. Maybe I sniffed in some of the chemicals.
You said, quote, as a child, I never sensed negativity and never knew the struggles that had once plagued my parents' marriage. This was largely in part because they kept to themselves, only communicating with each other in emergency situations, but always allowing me to have an uninterrupted relationship with the other parent. They respected each other's lives and they were mature about it, which offered a healthy upbringing, unquote. What effect did all of that have on your life today?
Honestly, my childhood, everything that I've done or pushed myself to do or accomplished, I can 100% give that back to my childhood and my parents. I'm divorced. People get divorced. They can decide to, especially with children, they can decide to make it nasty or not. And for as far as I know, my parents were amicable. I don't know, because they didn't, expose me to that. And so I got to, they remarried, and I have step two. I don't even call them step parents. It feels weird even saying that. I'm just saying it so people understand. I always say I have two moms and two dads, but they are so important in my life. They are so different from my biological parents. So my biological parents are very strict, and my father is an entrepreneur. He owns several businesses. My mother is a top of the corporate chain woman. She's a controller of a company. And then my step parents are very successful in their own right as well, but they were always the fun loving, like if I got in trouble with my biological parents, they would be like, oh, it's fine, or, talk them off the ledge or whatever. So I would say, a lot of people, when they experience divorce as a child, they only get the negative side of it. Maybe their parents don't know how to be amicable in front of them. But I am so lucky my parents did. And I feel like they made me so well-rounded, especially with the way that they raised me. And I think everything, they've always uplifted me, and they've always told me that I can do it no matter what. It's not ideal to have a split family, but honestly, I wouldn't have it any other way. They have 100% made me what I feel to be pretty well-rounded. So
awesome. So after going to college at the University of Memphis and at Bournemouth University, you got a job, I believe, at International Paper, where you worked for about 6 years. You took 280 flights in 365 days. I mean, wow. I mean,
yeah.
You started a makeup line while you were at IP, and you had manufacturers in New York that made products for you. Even thought you were, even though you were moving up in the company and successful, you knew you were destined to do much more than that. And even you were just basically helping an already huge company, make more money and get even bigger themselves. Tell us about the day that you decided to change your whole future and give notice to your boss.
That is a day that was the biggest risk I've ever taken in my life. And I don't think I would ever do it again, even though it worked out. So first I'll say I worked for International Paper. They are a wonderful company. If I didn't make that split decision that I'm going to tell you about, I would still be there today. Everyone I worked with was great. They valued me. I valued them. So wonderful company. I wasn't miserable. I'll just say that in corporate America, like you said, I just had this feeling that there was something else. So I was on a business trip, and I was in Birmingham staying at the Tutwiler. I just remember this moment. It's almost like I can remember like exactly where I was in the room, in my hotel room. It was before 8:00. I had an 8:30 meeting. It was coming up on 8:00. And I don't know. I had kind of been thinking a little bit about what if I got some retail space and went in and did like a, full-time thing, but it was really just a playful thought in my head, I guess. And for whatever reason, that day, it was a little bit more than a playful thought. I just felt this pulling, and I said to myself, okay, I lived in Harbortown at the time. I said, if they have an open retail spot, which I knew they didn't have an open retail spot, but I just thought, this will be I'm one of those, like, I need a sign. So I said, I'm going to call their commercial district. And if they say they have one, then I'm going to do this. That'll be my sign. But like, I was almost 100% sure they were going to say they didn't, because I lived there for 3 years and there wasn't anything open. So I call, and the man that answered the phone said, well, you called at the right time. Just a few hours ago, I found out that the Tan and Go, I think it had been there 10 or 15 years. They're not renewing. And that was on October, it was on October 15th that I called, because they said they just put their notice in, and October 30th, that'll be their last day, and they're not going to renew. And so tomorrow, since they've signed all the paperwork, I'm going to be promoting it. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is my sign. And then I was almost like sweating, like, oh no, I can't do this in my head. But I'm like, but I told myself I would. It's like, angel devil type situation. I'm a Gemini, so maybe that's what it was. My split.
I'm a Gemini too.
And are you? So
yes.
you get this, right?
Yes.
Like this internal struggle all the time. And so, I was like, you know what? I said, I'm going to do it. I'm 26. What do I have to lose? Like, I'm doing great in my job. I'll put in my 2 weeks notice, and then, I'll tell my boss that this is just kind of a pull, like this, something I need to do. And then also be like, hey, can I come back and beg for my job back if this doesn't work out? They were very supportive. I did put in my 2 weeks. I came back I told the man on the phone, when he said that, I said, let me think about it. I was walking downstairs to go get in my rental car, and I called him back and I said, gosh, what if somebody else gets it? And then I'm like, my whole motto is, I don't want to be on my deathbed and regret something. And that would be a moment I would regret. So I called him back and I said, I'll take it. And so he sent me the stuff. I signed it via email, sent it back, and literally signed my assets and my life away. Because when you sign a commercial lease, it's like, I didn't own a home, but it's like your car, your home, everything that you own if you don't uphold it. And so I signed 3 years away, came back, put in my 2 weeks notice. They did international paper, kept me on for 3 months as a contractor. They wanted me to be able to train the new person that they hired. So I flew around and trained her. But then after that, I was all on my own. It worked out, but it's not something I would do at the age of 36.
Right. I'm a big believer in fate. I'm a believer in synchronicity, and that things happen the way they're supposed to happen. And you calling at that moment, and that happening at that moment, and just a few hours earlier with Tanago not renewing, it was all supposed to happen that way.
Yeah, I feel that too.
You said, quote, would ranch taste good on Chef Boyardee raviolis? Haven't tried it, but think a lot about it. I am unsure if I like the idea or it would taste disgusting, unquote. So Alex, why haven't you tried it?
I did try it.
Good.
So that was when I was pregnant. I'm not sure where you found that, but I remember thinking that, and I was pregnant at the time. So I was like, maybe I wrote a blog post on it, or maybe I put a social media post out there. Yeah, I was pregnant, and I like ranch, and I grew up eating. I mean, my parents gave me better food than Chef Boyardee raviolis. It just happened to be one of my favorites. Right. I would always request it, and so I thought, I wonder what this would be like together. And so I did. I thought about it, and I did, and I took one bite and never tried that again. It was not good.
Not a good combination together.
No, not at all.
It's been said that you became an influencer before being an influencer became a thing. And this started in 2012 when you opened up your brick and mortar clothing store called, Ivory Closet in Harbortown. Tell us a little bit about the store. You talked about how it initially got launched, but tell us about launching it and, what you did in that situation, how that got going.
Well, so I launched the store. We got the space on October 30th, and, there was no business planning at all. So I never thought, well, where's my money going to come from? I had my savings from high school, and that was it. So, which was, less than $10,000. Knowing what I know now and consulting other people opening retail stores, you can barely do it successfully on 50,000. So I'm very lucky that it survived. I really think it was due to the location and having the only retail store in Harbortown. So maybe that's why. But yeah, so we got the space on October 30th. If you've ever been in a tan and go, or any tanning salon, it's booths. So it's like walls all the way down, little tiny rooms. And the tan and go carpet, is well, I don't know if it still is, but it was like black carpet with confetti, hot pink and lime. And I was like, oh my God, so I've got to turn this into a boutique. In 2 weeks, because I wanted to open on November 14th. That was my father's birthday, or is my father's birthday. One of my fathers, my mother's, well, we'll just say one of my fathers. I hate saying, biological or stepfather, but he's very important to me. And I was like, this would be the perfect day. And so, so we go in there, and my sister, she is an entrepreneur as well. She owns a construction company. And so I'm like, hey, Holly, I need your help. And she had just started her construction company. She had just became a contractor. So we got in there, her and I went in there with the help of my brother and one of my sets of parents and some friends. And we just went in with axes and just started axing down the walls, pulling up carpet, and getting it put together. And we got it done in 2 weeks. Yeah, it was a stressful time looking back, but it was an exciting time. And it's something it's a time that I'll always cherish, even though at the time I was thinking, what am I thinking? So yeah, we got it open, and I had spent all the money on inventory and opening the store. I had nothing left for marketing. And the location was great. So a lot of foot traffic, but I really needed to market outside of the island. And so this is back when Facebook business, I think, had just kind of come about. Or maybe it was right before I started posting pictures, just selfies. I'd stand in the shop all day, put on the different things, take, mirror selfies and post it on Facebook, and people would comment, so like they want it, their size. And so I did a lot of selling that way. I think 4 months after opening the store, Facebook business became a thing. And so Facebook's like, oh, you're a business, you need to have this. Well, then of course it's a money ploy.
Right.
I get the Facebook business, and then it's like, we're shutting down everything unless you pay for ads type thing, like your stuff isn't going to be seen. And then they started, the algorithms weren't showing personal posts that were kind of like salesy posts. So I was like, oh my gosh, it cut it like in a day, it turned off a big portion of my income got cut out. So I started a blog. And it was a way to be able to post on my personal page without being salesy. So Facebook didn't say, hey, you're trying to sell something, you need to have a business or whatever. So I would write about different fashion things and say, hey, it's available at the shop. But then I could put that link in my personal Facebook to kind of keep that traffic going. And I did that that was in 2012 when I started. And I think I started getting it was about mid 2013, maybe 2014, when brands started reaching out, asking me if other clothing brands, if I would wear their stuff and promote it on my blog. And my initial thought was, no, like, why would I do that? Cannibalize my own business, And then I realized, wait, this could be a separate income revenue stream. So I rebranded the blog not to be Ivory Closet. That's when it became City Chic Living. And then started accepting other brands, and it grew into a lifestyle thing. I don't even do much fashion on the blog anymore. It's turned into a more of a lifestyle, parenting, that kind of thing. And it just grew. And now, it got to the point where the blog was more lucrative than the clothing stores as far as monetarily. And I just decided I need to be good at something, not always say half-ass, like you can't have all these things, you're going to just half everything, right? And I just wanted to be great at something. And so I made the decision to let the Ivory Closet go. I didn't close it. I sold it to another local Memphian who's incredible. And she has it now. She's a good friend of mine. And so she's kept my first little baby project alive for
Jennifer.
me. Yeah, Jennifer. Yeah. And it's her now. It's become her thing. I mean, she's turned it into her brand. She's sprinkled her love all over it, and it's her baby now. And it's special. It's special that it's still there, and that I thank her so much for keeping it around. So.
You recently said, quote, with everything the world has been going through, we need to be kind to each others and respectful of their mental health. It is a real thing that shouldn't be overlooked, unquote. It's overlooked way too much, and that has to change, doesn't it?
Yes. Yeah. I'm going to go ahead and tell on myself. Before I really got married for the second time, it's going to sound like I'm blaming it on my second husband. It's not. It was really like, I think it's age. I had never experienced an anxiety attack before. So I didn't know I just didn't value mental health, I guess, because I just thought it was, a small group. It wasn't something that I was like, but it just wasn't something that I thought about. And after I had my second child, got a divorce, was getting remarried, going to school, all these things. I mean, wow. Like at first I thought I was having heart attack. Like I would go and I had EKGs done, all this stuff. Cause I would wake up in the middle of the night, just heart pounding, sweating. And I didn't know what it was. And it felt terrible. It felt like I was dying. And so when I went to so many different doctors, because they kept saying it's anxiety. And I said, well, I don't feel overly stressed. Like I'm not walking around thinking, God, my life is so stressful, but it just would happen. And they're like, it's mental health. That's not the way that it works. Your brain can have all these underlying things going on that makes your body react physiologically to it, and without your control at all. And so I was like, wow, like this is a thing. And then anxiety attacks would get bad to the point, like I said, I feel like I'm dying. I had one friend that told me she experienced them every single day for 2 months before they got her medication right. And I said, I cannot imagine having an anxiety attack every single day for 2 months. Like, I see why this is such a huge deal, and it doesn't need to be overlooked. And so, my eyes have been open to it. And I think, many others should definitely research and look into it as well. It's very important. A lot of people suffer with it.
I remember when I had an anxiety attack for the first time, I was in the movie Training Day, the Denzel Washington movie. And I had an anxiety, and I honestly, just like you, I thought I was having a heart attack. It scared the heck out of me.
Yeah. And it just comes out of nowhere.
Right. I don't even know why, but
Yeah.
it came out of nowhere. So, it's just, if someone has that, they obviously need to get checked out just to be on the safe side. But more than likely, that's exactly what it is. And then figure out to go from there to get some help, because, talking to somebody, getting out there and doing it. My psychologist has always said, people that reach out for help are stronger than the ones that don't.
Right. That is so true. And you know what? That's another thing too. I've always, before all of this, I was always like, I can handle my own thing. I don't need a therapist. I can fix this. And as it got worse and worse, I'm thinking, that's what I've learned. I've learned, the strong ones are the ones that can say, hey, there's something going on. This needs to be looked at. I need to figure this out. Because in the end, you understand your mind and your body so much more, especially with an outsider, a professional outsider looking in and helping you. So yeah, I definitely am with you all the way on that.
Quote, even as a young girl, my brain would explode with ideas on different products I could develop, what I would call them, what the brand would look like, and where I would sell them. I knew becoming a business owner was my calling. I just didn't know how to bring my ideas into fruition, unquote. Was there just a moment in time where everything in your mind just started clicking for you and you figured out what direction you wanted to go in and how to get there?
Yeah. I don't know when that point, honestly, I think that it wasn't that it clicked for me. I think it was just that I finally pushed myself to do it. So I would always have these ideas, and I would, get notebooks and come up with these different products and these different names. I would buy URLs and I would never put websites on them. Like, I just had all these things swirling around. And that's very typical of an entrepreneurial mindset, but I don't know if it's that I didn't have the confidence. I knew one day I would do it, but it was kind of like, one day I'll do that, and then it just, one day I'll do it, one day I'll do it. And I guess, I thought to myself, I remember thinking to myself when I worked in corporate America that I was climbing the ladder. I always had that entrepreneurial pool, and I was doing the makeup thing on the side at the time. But I knew that the next promotion was about to happen. I was doing really well. I was a salesperson. Bonuses were coming in. They treated me very well. I was 26 years old, and I definitely took over a half, like cut my paycheck in half when I started working for myself, which was super scary. So I kept thinking to myself, if I get this next promotion, if I get this next big bonus, if I stay here one more year, I will never do this because I can't cut loose from it. What if I get married or start having children? I'll be tied to the money. I can't do it. And not to say that if you're married or have children that you can't do it, you absolutely can. But that was my mindset at the time. And that's when I decided just go big or go home, just do it. I can always try to make it up on the back end. And honestly too, when I did that, I did a lot of praying, and things have always worked out, even when they have looked like, I've hit rock bottom, like before, like close to bankruptcy. I've gone up and down. I've done all the things, but I would always pray. And no matter what, one day I can feel like I don't know where this is going to go tomorrow. And I could pray and pray. And within the next day or a week, things would always work out. And so in my head now, I know, God's got me. But that was kind of like, the thought process was, it's not that it clicked. It was like, you better do it now. And then throughout, now I keep like writing the book and doing other things. The push is, it's not going to fail. Like, it's not going to fall, because God's always going to catch me right before I hit the bottom. I'm not going to go into the hole. So, yeah, I think that's really how it all worked out, and continues to every time I come up with these crazy ideas.
The Gemini mentality, it's an all in, I'm going for it, I'm determined mentality. It really is. And people don't understand it. It is that way when you're a Gemini.
Yeah. And if you don't do it, like if you just don't, then it's like you have a personal vendetta against yourself. Like, why didn't you do that? Why didn't you do, So like, it's just, if I fail, I would rather have done it and failed than to wonder, like I said, on my deathbed, wondering, what could have been, or, I mean, at least I'll know that whether it was good or bad, at least I did it.
Right. It wasn't just Ivory Closet, though. You launched about 5 different companies over the next 8 years. And then in 2019, you sold your clothing store to your friend Jennifer, and you decided to become a national brand influencer full time. Being as goal oriented as you are, you must have had, a strong plan, at least in your mind, in place, because just 3 years later, you're working with national brands like Target, Procter and Gamble, Amazon, and you also have your online course, The Business of Blogging. Tell the audience about City Chic Living, The Confident Boss, and the videos that you make for some of these major companies that you work with now.
Yeah. So whenever I did have a plan for this business, at least I didn't have one for the first one. So yeah, so what I did is I just looked at how much I was making as a national brand influencer and how much time that took. And then, logically, I looked at how much time I'm spending in the store. And obviously, the time I'm in the store, I can't be making money doing, the influencer thing. So I just, divided out how much money I was making doing that by the time spent. And then I calculated it to how much money is going to be lost by doing this. And it was a no-brainer. So I did have a plan there. Yeah. So working with the national brands, that was what made me make the decision. I had already started working with some national brands right before I sold the store, maybe for a year before I sold the store. And that's basically just, your influence for what you think, writing blog posts, doing stories, not every Instagram post, Pinterest. There's so many different revenue streams. Not everything I do is sponsored. You have to have the Federal Trade Commission makes you do hashtag sponsored if it is. So that's one thing I like to tell people. Like, I'm not just selling out where the money goes. I make the decision whether a brand or a brand product fits with my audience or something that I would use, and then I take that route. Yeah. And so people started asking, how do you do this? And a lot of influencers are, they keep the secrets, close to the rest. They're like, we don't want to tell anybody because it's a saturated market. But I'm one of those people that there's enough business to go around for everyone. I mean, think about how many corporations there are out there. I don't 100% quote me on these numbers, but I remember looking up, I think it was a $1.6 billion business in 2019, because I was looking at also the market and where the growth was there. And it had been predicted to be I think it was a $2.6 billion business by the next year. And I want to say it's close to a $6 billion industry right now. So that is, that is plenty of money to go around. So I was like, I'm just going to start sharing how to do this. It's not just like with any business. A lot of people think they're going to start a business and overnight become a millionaire. And I always say, like, not that I'm a millionaire, maybe a thousandaire, but you know what I mean? They're like, oh, we're going to make 6 digits overnight. And it takes time with anything. You have to build it. There's risks there. It's consistency and it takes time. But I do like to teach people how to do it, how to get started, and, how to work your way up to getting those national deals. And so I also do courses on that. That's where, so the Confident Boss, I have just rebranded it. It was called The Confident Boss, but the book that I'm releasing, The Unconventional Entrepreneur, I wanted that online academy to go along with that book, because the book really teaches people how to be an entrepreneur, not just on blogging, just different ways to launch and start businesses, and how to market and all of that. And so I changed that. Confident Boss is now the UE Academy, Unconventional Entrepreneur Academy, at learnunconventional.com. So I'm working on a huge course that goes along with the book, that teaches others, not, like I said, not just about, not actually, it's really not branded towards blogging in specifically. It's how to be an unconventional entrepreneur, and how to think outside the box and start a business that's just like a wow, and brand yourself as an expert instead of branding a product. And so yeah, it's kind of that route. So that's where the online academy comes from.
You said, quote, the traditional ways of doing business are becoming extinct and more men and women are experiencing success to higher extremes through unconventional business strategies. This idea of unconventional entrepreneurialism is fueling passion and putting enjoyment back into work by delivering freedom and flexibility and allowing small businesses to thrive alongside national corporations, unquote. Tell us a little bit about those words, what unconventional entrepreneurialism it means to you.
Well, we have obviously traditional small business, traditional bosses, traditional business in general, traditional entrepreneurs, things like from marketing, like traditional being magazine, or any kind of print ad, billboards. Not that those things are extinct, but those are the traditional ways of doing business. And we were already going down this very unconventional path or new way to market or new way to strategize our businesses. I think that COVID really propelled it because everyone was at home, consumers are at home, employees are at home. How do we keep this economy going in an atmosphere where you can't physically be present? And so, all of these digital strategies started happening, and entrepreneurs had to think of unconventional ways to really survive, especially the small businesses out there. And so an unconventional entrepreneur to me, and that is the title of the book, The Unconventional Entrepreneur, is basically taking strategies, branding yourself as a professional in your industry and strategizing around you as a professional to then sell your products or your services. That's one, large strategy of it. And also just, doing things the unconventional way, but also being kind to yourself and your lifestyle and your family, so that you can really, live a flexible and free life and not feel like you're a prisoner to your work or that unfortunately with entrepreneurs, a lot of times it's exciting, but you become a prisoner to your job or your business. So, right. And an unconventional entrepreneur doesn't do that.
You've talked about how when you were 26 that you thought the thought of failing never entered your mind because you were so confident in what you can do. And when you're about 31 in 2017, you realize that it's not about growth, and you talked a little bit about this, it's about profitability. You're very transparent in your post and on your blog. And, with what you shared with what happened in 2017, you went through a divorce. It was extremely hard on you financially. Your dad had to help you out some, and, even the government did too. And you said, quote, my failures have been equal to my successes, unquote. And, quote, stars cannot shine without darkness. What did going through all of that and coming out on the other side do for you? And how do you think that you were able to do it?
So stars cannot shine without darkness. That is one of my tattoos on my back. Yeah, that was a really tough time. So, when I was talking about the mental health and not having experienced it before, not being able to understand it, right? So not having experienced monetary destruction, just like where it's like, am I going to lose my house? I've got 2 children, what am I going to do? Not having experienced that before and having to get on government programs for help. I didn't understand that either. I have such I hold that close to my heart, people that have to do that, because it is a very humbling thing. It's also, no one wants to have to, extend a hand and ask for help, especially when there's such a negative connotation that society puts on it. So having to do that just was very humbling experience. And also just at the same time, it made me feel like a failure. And so at the first time in my life, I started basically understanding what failure was. I'm not saying that I was so great at everything and that I never failed. Of course I did. It just wasn't, I had never had my knees skinned up so hard to where I'm like, oh my God, like this is a challenge, like thinking twice about everything, feeling like you can't breathe or come out on the other end. I had my stores at the time, went through the divorce, got on government help with WIC and Medicare so that I had insurance for me and my children. And I started doing any side job I could do, you name it, clean house, whatever I could get paid to do. Well, I won't say any side job, any morally accepted side job.
Right.
And, I climbed out. There was a moment where I thought, this was the time in my life I almost filed bankruptcy. There was a moment where I thought, I can make this go away. I'll file bankruptcy. I'll sell my house. I'll just have to start from the bottom, but it'll all go away. And then I'll just have to, basically just, eat the failure. And then there's something in me said, no, you have not fought enough. You haven't done every single thing you can to make money where you can. I got very innovative in my business strategies, different way. I started like doing consignment within the store. I just started doing all these different things to make money for my family. And like I said, God always has me. I didn't have to, my dad, well, I say my God, but my dad too, he helped me out. He helped me out as well.
Right.
But it wasn't like basically paying all my expenses every month. It was like, here's a little something, just to kind of help with whatever, food or whatever. But yeah, I just kept working hard. I accepted the failure. I'm not going to say I didn't accept the failure. Now I can accept it much more. I removed that from my mindset when doing things because it's a scary thing to think about having gone through it before, but I've accepted it. I've learned from it and I climbed out of it and I didn't give up. And so it took about 2 years of struggle. And I'll say this, you never know what other people are going through. People can judge and stereotype, like, before all this happened, I had like a nice car and I had a home and I had all these things. So from the outside, people think, what could this girl be going through? She has businesses, she has all these things. But, financial struggle can hit you in a moment's notice. I mean, people lose their jobs every day and can't find another job or, I didn't lose my job. I had businesses, but you know what I mean? And then and from the outside, it looks great. But from the inside, I mean, they could just be going down the black hole, and so getting on government assistance and finding help. I'm so thankful those things are there. We've paid into it. And I've told myself, I've had a job since I was 14. I have paid into the system and that's what it's here for. It's here to, support the Americans that need it. And so I took advantage of, I won't say take advantage of, I needed it. I got on the system and the minute that I got up and was able to pay my bills, I could have stayed on it actually 3 years. They allow you to stay on it till I think your child's 5. I can't remember. I got off of it the minute I could because I didn't want to take advantage. And it was a humbling time and I'm glad I didn't give up. I'm glad I didn't just file bankruptcy and throw all my financial woes out the window. I mean, it's, throwing it back on the bank. I just couldn't do it. I felt responsible, but yeah, it was a challenging time and I am still here and still going, and I hope it never happens again. But if it does, I'll ride the wave.
To show what a big heart you have during that time. Not only were you doing it for you, you were splitting, time with your kids, or also with your ex-husband, having to see him at the time. You actually gave part of that money to your ex-husband, Ben, too, didn't you?
Oh yeah. Yeah. So he, the divorce was hard on him as well. I mean, we fell out of love, but we love each other as friends. We still talk all the time. He'll call about the kids, or I'll call about the kids. And then we end up staying on the phone for 40 minutes. I mean, we're friends. And so I knew he was struggling as well, trying to find a place to live and all of that. I mean, we both decided it just wasn't going to work. And so, we would get the WIC stuff and I would split it with him so that he had enough food to feed the kids and they were with him and vice versa. And, we take care of each other when we can, even to this day, we do.
That's great. Quote, I don't go crazy. I am crazy. I just go normal from time to time. People hate what they don't understand, unquote. You also said, quote, I view it as a positive thing because my crazy is what gets shit done.
That sounds like me.
You really do take it as a huge compliment, don't you?
I do. I've had people say to me, gosh, you're crazy, like trying to be mean. And I'm like, oh, thank you. I'm so glad I'm not normal. Right. I mean, I do. I mean, crazy isn't a bad thing. It does. Sometimes you go a little crazy in your mind about things you want to do. And it pushes you to do it. It pushes you to get things done. It pushes you to protect the ones that you love. Right. I just have to hold myself back and not go crazy off the cliff sometimes of, handling certain situations. To a certain level, I'll say I'm crazy.
I probably describe it also as you're just extremely passionate about what you do.
I'm very passionate about what I do, about the people that I love. Yeah. And it can drive me to extremes.
You're only 36 and you're now featured in several major publications throughout the United States, including Forbes, New York Times Weekly, Hollywood Digest, LA Weekly Times, Yahoo News, and more. What has all this been like for you, and how do you keep yourself grounded?
It has been, I'm very thankful for all of it. I feel blessed. It's very surreal because I think I told you, it was funny. Actually, one of my friends from Chicago, I moved when I was going into ninth grade. And he messaged me on Facebook the other day. We haven't talked in forever. I mean, gosh, maybe once since I left in ninth grade, and so that was, a long, long time ago. And he messaged me and he said, I just want you to know I've been watching what you are doing. And it's crazy to see that little skater girl turn into lifestyle and beauty influencer. And I said, I know, like, I think about that all the time. I'll look at myself in the mirror and I'm like, how did this happen? It's just, yeah, it's crazy that all this opportunity has come this way. It is definitely, I will say it's me, but as you know, Geminis, there's two sides to us. I've got this whole kind of tomboy, I won't say dark, but little gritty, 90s grunge loving, sad music loving side. And then I have, this bubbly, uppity, social out in the world. And I guess I don't even like to say the word girly because I'm like, I'm not girly, but I guess we can call it that. And so it's weird. I look in the mirror and all these things have happened. And I'm just like, man, like, I just feel so grateful and blessed to have to get those features and to have people, it feels good to work hard and have people say, we see you and, and we know what you're doing. Because a lot of times it can be a very lonely thing too, being an entrepreneur.
Yes, it can. You said, quote, everything about my world is unconventional. There's that word again. I don't read books or try to mirror others when it comes to business, momming, or doing life in general. I believe that the only way to figure out your groove is to learn by trial and error, unquote. And you've also said, can't is not a concept I understand. Being unconventional really works for you.
Yes, it does. Yes. Yeah, the can't, that's one of my biggest pet peeves, by the way. I can't stand like my husband will be like, you can't do that. And I'm like, I can't. Don't tell me I can't. You can do and I always say, you can do anything you put your mind to. That's always my response when someone says you can't do something. That's why the book Unconventional Entrepreneur, I named it that, because unconventional just feels like the word that describes my childhood, my life, my marriage, like everything, me, and like you said, it's the passion and the unconventional way is definitely my way.
You recently have talked about here, just released your first book titled The Unconventional Entrepreneur. You were writing it for 2 years. You said, quote, in this book, I'm teaching ways to thrive in the current small business climate for these entrepreneurs to become successful and ultimately live their work-life dream, unquote. Tell us, why you decided to write the book, to put everything out there and, and a little bit more in depth about the book.
So I decided to write the book because I wanted to, there's part of me that, experiencing the success, especially after everything that I told you guys about, almost losing it all. I want to give back. And I've always been like, what can I do to give back? Like, I've got this success and I don't want to just consume, like, I don't want to take. I want to give what I've been gifted. And so I thought, so many people, I mean, I'm going to tell you, I'm all about the American dream, the small business owner. I am all about it. And so many people never get to realize their small business American dream because whether it's lack of confidence, lack of money, all of these things, people that holds people back. And all of those things, it shouldn't be like, I get if you don't have a certain amount of money, well, there's ways to get around that. There's ways to get that money. I hear all of these amazing ideas from aspiring entrepreneurs, and then always hear the other side, but, and I was like, there just needs to be a blueprint. There needs to be something out there that someone can read that's not only inspiring. I do have some personal stories in there, some that we've talked about today, and there are some others. that's not only inspiring from someone who didn't come from an Ivy League school or, from old money or anything like that, that you can do it just starting with you. But also, in there, I have ways to do it. There's exercises. There are QR codes where you can print up like a brand guide and different. There's a questionnaire on how to. There's something I call the 8 elements. It's the 8 skill set, or the skill set that you need are the 8 elements or the 8 traits of an unconventional entrepreneur. And there's a questionnaire in there that you can scan the QR code, take the questionnaire, determine which elements you're strong in, which ones you're not. And then in the next chapter, how you can strengthen in those certain elements so that you can rise to the top and be successful on basically build your skill set to be successful. So there's a lot of that kind of stuff in there too. There are also some unconventional axioms, is what I call them, or unconventional wisdom, but they are axioms of, and they're kind of weird. Like one is, eat what you kill. And I describe them. I'm pretty aggressive when it comes to my work. But different things that I've lived by, the axioms that have been in my toolbox that have really helped push me through, like removing failure from your mindset, like appreciating it, but removing it. And there's many, many more. So the book it's not just a how-to, it's a piece of me. Like it's a piece of what's been inside me, finally, like getting it out of me and putting it on paper so that it's real. I mean, even though it's real when you feel it inside, it's really real when you can hold it, and also it's a way that I feel like I can give back in some small way. And I'm hoping that, so it is in the process of being printed. I'm hoping we have it in form before the end of this month. But I'm hoping after some people read it that they reach out, and I love mentoring and helping other people and hearing all of their ideas and just bouncing things off of each other. So I'm hoping I'll make some connections that way as well.
Your life motto is, quote, "Stars cannot shine without darkness," unquote. What does that mean to you?
So that is, I feel like there have been so many dark moments in my life throughout my entire life. And in those dark moments, it's like, I feel like when you're surrounded by darkness and you feel like you can't get out, it's almost like you can close your eyes and go internally and claw your way out, like come up with these ideas and different ways, or heal yourself internally. And you just start to shine. I feel like when you experience obstacles or even like major detriments in life, major losses, the hopelessness that you feel in that time turns into hope. Like you have a hopelessness, but then you're like, but the only way that it's going to fix is to have this hope of something better. And so in the darkness, that level of hope just grows and grows and grows to the point that, well, at least the point that I do something about it. And so it is my life motto. I think there are times I used to paint and do all kinds of other artistic things. And I'm going to tell you, I've written poetry. I love doing stuff like that, but I cannot do it unless I am in a dark place. Like I just can't do it unless I'm in a very dark place. And I get there from time to time. And that's when I feel like my soul starts to shine, and I start doing things that people wouldn't traditionally look at me and think that I would do. And I can't write poetry at all unless I'm in that spot, or I can't paint at all. Like it's just like a completely different person. So that has been my life motto. Even writing the book, that's why there are some pretty dark moments in the book. That's why it took me 2 years too. It wasn't just regurgitating everything that's in my head. It was getting to a spot where I could write eloquently and get it all down on paper. And that's just not, like I said, it's not an everyday occurrence or at a moment's notice thing for me. I need the darkness there.
Quote, "I fill my days pursuing the dream of being my own boss as a full-time digital entrepreneur, business consultant, and brand developer, while spending my evenings playing superheroes, bathing kiddos, making dinner, tucking in my littles, and enjoying time with my husband," unquote. We're going to talk a little about your wonderful family today. But first, I wanted to know, how are you able to balance life and work so well? Because I know that can't be easy sometimes.
Yeah, I'm going to say, even my ex-husband, he helps me out. So we do 50-50. I don't think obviously when you go through a divorce, I wanted the old mom dad rule where the mom gets 80 and the dad gets 20. It's not fair. It really isn't, but that's where my mindset was at the time. And when we got a divorce, that law had just changed in Tennessee a few months prior. So it was 50-50. And of course I was just like, my youngest was 6 months old. So I was like, I can't be without him, every other week, and it was tough. But now that like we've been in this life now, we've been doing this for 5 years, him having his time and I'm able to get work done when the kids aren't here and they're with him. And then when the kids are here, I'm able to spend that time. And also he'll be the first to tell you, we have a parenting plan and parenting schedule, but we do not abide by it at all and mainly it's my fault. Because with school, something will pop up and so he'll be like, yeah, I'll, drop the kids. He owns his own business too, Iron Jaw mouth guards. He'll be like, drop the kids off at the lab. I'm up here making mouth guards. And just come pick them up when you're done with your, meeting or whatever. So I really think the balance a lot with him. And then with my husband now, being so understanding. I think it's hard to be married to someone like me. I try to be super nice. It's not that like I'm, ugly to him or anything. It's that, the balance for me, the struggle with the balance and prioritization has been very real in the past. I talk about it a lot in the book. That was one of I would say that was a big hand I played in my first divorce, was not knowing how to prioritize and balance. And so I'm very cognizant of that. But my husband now sometimes I have to work when I don't have the kids. Sometimes I have to work late into the night. And he's never, complaining about it or making me feel bad about it. He's always uplifting. So that really helps me balance and keep things rolling as well. He doesn't make me feel bad. So I feel like I can get it done,
So your little family includes your sons, Jack, James, and Ransom, your doggy Bane, and your husband, Mr. Greg. You said, quote, just wanted to take a moment out of this busy day to reflect, blessed beyond words for my beautiful boys and handsome husband, unquote. Taking those few precious moments each day, as you said, to reflect, staying in the moment, smiling and realizing how truly lucky you are and blessed you are. It's super important to you, isn't it?
It is, because, and we all have moments. So, I try to, especially when I hear stories of other people, like like you come home from work and you're like, gosh, today sucked. And, we all have our moments, but then you hear other stories, especially stories that have been going around in our city of loss and crime and people's lives being changed in a moment's notice. And I just think to myself, how dare I be so negative about my life when other people aren't ever able to see the people that they love again, or having to experience extreme trauma because of crime or things that have been done to them. So it is important to me. I of course, I'm not saying I don't have a bad day. We all do, but I'm really quick to straighten myself up and scold myself on, I'm very lucky and I've come through a lot. And it's important to be appreciative and grateful of that in my family.
So let's start with your kiddos, Jack, James, Ransom, and Bane. Tell us a little bit
Bane,
about...
we have Hella too. Now,
okay.
Bane's my dog. Hella's Greg would be,
so
he'd be like, you didn't mention Hella.
Okay, gotta mention Hella. Tell us a little bit about each of them. And I always see pictures and videos of you guys laughing, goofing off, and you all are just having so much fun together.
Yeah, we do. We do. All three of my boys are so different. They are all so loving and generous and kind. I'm very blessed with that, but they're different. My oldest is Jack. He loves baseball. He's my sensitive one, and he's the oldest. So he's kind of the watchful eye. My middle child is Ransom. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and say this right now. He is going to be an NFL player one day. Like, when you meet those kids, like I have a friend whose kid has been playing, like not playing drums, just drumming with sticks since he was like 2. And you're like, wow, he's got a beat. And now he's like 5 and he's like a full blown drummer prodigy. That is my middle son, Ransom. He's into it. He loves it. He eats, sleeps, and dreams it. So I tell him all the time, I'm like, you're going to be our NFL kid. I would be shocked if he wasn't an NFL player. And James is my youngest. he's my rough and tough, do first, ask later kid. Yeah, he's so sweet though. He is such a mama's boy. I would say he's probably the close. I love all of my children equally. He's more gravitates to me. He's the closest to me, and so my dog Bane, he is a German Shepherd. He's 2 years old. He's named after Bane, Batman Bane. And Hella, so Bane was my dog before Greg and I got married. Hella was Greg's dog, and she is a Belgian Malinois. And she's named after Thor's sister, I believe. Like, we didn't know each other when our dogs got named. Wow. It just so happened that we both like superhero stuff. So that's my whole family. Greg, he is a former Marine. And he went to Ole Miss Law School. So he is a licensed attorney in the state of Tennessee. And he doesn't work as an attorney. He works at FedEx and does labor relations there, but it's active because he uses his degree, in his job there. So, and he's wonderful. I mean, he's a great guy. He's one of those, everyone's always like, he's so intimidating. Like, people that don't know him, he's so intimidating because he doesn't seem like he smiles. And that's why I'm always posting reels. Like, he brings me flowers several times a week, and I'll come home and he'll just be in the kitchen with his, straight face cutting flowers and just, and
I
I'm
saw
like,
that video.
Yeah. He's has such a kind heart, and he's so thoughtful. But yeah, people say he has RBF because his resting face. But yeah, don't let that fool you. He is a big teddy bear too. Even with all of after the Marines, he was a contractor. He worked for the Pentagon, so he went back over to Afghanistan and Iraq then too. So he's had some pretty strenuous, tough jobs. And it looks like, I feel like he carries that on his face, but deep down, he is the biggest teddy bear.
And didn't Jack just win a baseball championship recently?
No. So Jack finished up he just started baseball back again. He actually won a game last week, but he finished they didn't get the championship. They did play in it, but they didn't win. That was in the spring. And so he just started back up. So we're full swing fall ball now.
So you think that he has an opportunity to go, and does he want to play baseball in like middle school, high school, and go forward?
I think so. He's very into it. The reason why I say Ransom will do NFL is because like he'll like do imaginary plays in the floor, like NFL plays, and he has his helmet, and he likes to wear his jersey. He'll walk around with his ball. Jack is passionate about baseball, but when he's not on the field or practicing, then it's not carrying a bat around and a ball, right. So not to say he won't. I mean, he's very good. He is definitely one of the top on his team. And it does come natural to him, but I think the skills there, and the passion, he loves it. It's just, I think as he gets older, maybe it'll grow more into a passion. I think right now it's just something he loves to do, and he's good at it, so he likes doing it. But if that passion starts to grow, I mean, we talked a lot about passion today, and then he'll hit the top for sure.
You all recently took a trip to Santa Rosa Beach, Florida. It was your first family trip that you said you've taken together. You said, quote, "I believe this week has been the happiest one of our marriage. Love my boys, all four of them. Also got to relive my childhood summers down here in Destin, Florida," unquote. Tell us a little bit about the vacation and some of the childhood memories that came back to you.
So the vacation was absolutely wonderful. My friend Andrea and Trey Latard, they have Airbnbs, and this is their first. Well, I say it's an Airbnb. They have several homes in Memphis and there, and like they're living in this home, but then when they come back to Memphis, they Airbnb that home out. So they happened to be in Memphis that week, and they let us have their home for the week. And it was wonderful. They're off in Santa Rosa Beach. They had a side-by-side that we could just ride from their home down to the beach. We did all the things that I used to do with my little brother and my little sister. I mean, we did the t-shirt shopping, got the ice cream, played on the beach, went to all of the fun seafood places. It was just, I went to Big Kahuna's. I did that. The last time I went, I think I was probably 13, or maybe even younger. But we did all the things that, it was almost like being able to carry Greg along a childhood memory of mine, and then let my kids build upon that childhood memory as well. It's very special. And it was the first time we've gotten to do a vacation together as a family, because being a blended family, you've got other different parenting times and different parenting plans. And so it hasn't worked out for us in the past, but we got it going this time, and we had amazing time. We're already trying to plan something for next year.
Your family situation is very unique. You've shared a lot about this, and you've talked a little bit about it more today, that, where people can actually learn a lot about how that you guys have made this work so well with your ex-husband, Ben, and Mr. Greg and the boys. You said, quote, "Sure, Ben and I went through it, went divorcing, but we decided to lay down the swords, remember that we liked what we liked about each other as humans, and come to the resolution that marriage wasn't for us, but friendship was," unquote. That's powerful. I mean, y'all attend kids events together, games together, including Ben's girlfriend, Carly. You said, unfortunately, there's so many people that go through divorces with kids, and instead of trying to get along for the sake of the children, at least the children, in their best interests, at least as much as possible, and we know every situation is different. They involve the kids in the divorce, and it has such a negative effect on them. And maybe they see it. Most of the time, I don't think they see it. If, what you guys did, if people did what you guys did, or maybe even this went halfway from what you guys have done, and keep the children out of it, things would be so much better and more sane, wouldn't it?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, keeping the children out of it, but being amicable to the other person. It didn't work out. Whether you think the other person is a terrible person or not, don't spend your every waking moment trying to make the other person's life miserable. Unfortunately, I feel like I feel like that happens so much in divorce. I hear the stories all the time. And I'll say this, I had great role models, with my parents. Like, they may have gone through their things. I know that they had some things, sure. But they laid down the swords, and, I won't say they're like best friends, but they go to my kids' things together, and, they say, hey, and at least I don't know the difference, Right. So I had those role models. I really had that guide, and maybe some other people, their parents aren't divorced, so they don't know how it is. They just know that they never wanted to get a divorce, and now they're mad, and now they're just gonna make it's like a vendetta against the other person. It doesn't do anything but hurt the kids. As the kids get older, they start to sense they're smart. Kids are smart. They can sense tension. Just like when you walk into a room, you may not know two people don't like each other, but you can sense it by body language, like what they do or don't say. So it really does. As the children get older, it really starts to affect them. I've seen it so many times mentally. And so the best thing to do is just find a way to be amicable and just let it go. Just let it go, let it go, be happy, live your life, and just let the other person live theirs, and, and just love your children together. I mean, it really does make for, I'm really blessed that Ben and I have been able to do that. A lot of people say we're very unique because we can talk. We don't just call each other and talk as friends, but he'll call me about a question about the kids, and he'll be like, hey, did you hear about this today? And I'm like, no. And then he'll tell me, and we'll talk for a little bit. And sometimes Greg's like, that's so weird. And I'm like, I mean, it's a better way to be. It's not like we're, hanging out or anything, but it just, and our kids know it, and our kids see it. And so they don't have any kind of anxiety or weirdness, because they know. Jack asked me the other day, he said, what happened? Why? Because he remembers when Ben and I had a home together and when we were married. And I said, well, you know what? Sometimes, people just, they're friends, and then, and they get married, and then it doesn't work. They're better off. They don't work living together. And I said, and that's it. Me and your dad, we just didn't work living together. We work better not living together. And he was like, oh, okay. And I was like, and now you get two homes, and you get two sets of everything. That's right. Trying to put that cherry on top.
Right. You made a positive out of it. Yeah. Awesome. So you and Greg are about to celebrate your second anniversary on October 26th. And last year you said this of him, quote, just wanted to take a moment to recognize my husband. He is my rock. He is my protector. He is my love. He is my chef. He is an amazing father. He is my heart. He is my happiness. He is my hero. He is my friend. I am one lucky gal to have the world's greatest man. I love you, Bo, Birdie. Mm-hmm. What a heartfelt and beautiful thing to say and share with your world in the social media world about the man you love. Tell us just a little bit more about him. And if you will, just a little bit about those nicknames.
So I still feel that same way. I'll say, if not even more. We've had, speaking of divorce, we've had a very rocky situation on his side of things that have been very litigious, in and out of court.
I read about it. Yeah.
Yeah. And so we haven't had, look, I'm unconventional. I haven't even had a conventional, I have a very unconventional marriage. Our entire 2 years have been, we've loved each other. We've been like, he's cried on my shoulder. I've cried on his shoulder because of his situation. We've cried together. You know, we've had late nights talking about all the things. If we could just have a normal life, how great it would be. And just, you know, and so through that, you know, it's been very challenging over the past 2 years, but I'll say I feel all those things about him, if not more, because through all of this struggle, we just pull closer. You know, his whole thing is don't let the other person win. They want to destroy us. They would be so happy to see us just fall apart. So the only way to fight is to grow closer and closer and closer. And that's what we've done. I mean, we were best friends then, and I feel like we're soul friends now. You know, I just feel like it's just, you learn a lot about someone when you see them at their lowest. And I'll say he's gone through that. So with that, he called me one day, he just out of the blue. I'll say this. We had, and I wrote about it on the blog, we had a split, a summer split. Like we were dating 9 months. We split for 2 months.
Right.
And during that time, he wrote me letters. I still have a leather bound journal, and he wrote letters every day. So I've got 2 months worth of letters. And through those letters, he just started calling me Birdie as a nickname. And whenever we got back together, went on our first, second date, when we started dating again, I said, "What's the deal with that?" And he just said, you know, I don't know, it just fits you. He's like, "I always just think you're my little birdies. Like you're always, you know, in flight, not very grounded, singing, chirping, all the things." And I was like, "Oh, it was kind of a cute nickname." And I was like, "Well, you know," I was like, I was like, "Birdie." I was like, "And you can be Bo. It can be like Bonnie and Clyde, but Birdie and Bo." And, you know, of course I'm all about it.
Right.
And so I was like, "That's your nickname." And it just stuck. And so now, you know, well, it's not an everyday thing. He's not like, "Oh, Birdie," but like, it's always like, if he just is in the middle of the day thinking about me and wants to just say, "Hey, I love you," he'll just be like, "I love you, Birdie," or "What are you doing, Birdie?" And so that's how I know that he's like, it's not just a, "Hey, what are you doing?" It's like, oh, he's like having a moment. It's almost like an endearing thing. So that's kind of our little thing. And I put it inside of his wedding band, and we've got little things. I actually just ordered a painting of, it was for our anniversary. I hope he doesn't, I'm not gonna let him see this until after, of us like doing like a playful kiss, and it says Birdie and Bo, and it has our anniversary date on there too. So it's kind of our special little thing.
Very cool. You also keep them really close to you every day when you're not with each other. You have one of his Marine medals in the laces of your boots. I love that. What gave you that idea?
I don't know. I'm just a little edgy. We kind of talked about that, and I like combat boots.
Right.
And so I'm also I'm like of this. You remember all the '90s music where or not music, movies where these love stories were like, okay, one of my favorite. This is going to say so much about me. People are going to be like, "Gosh, you are a little dark." I loved the movie The Crow. I loved it. It was like one of the first, and why I was watching that as a kid, I don't know. My parents are great, I promise. Maybe they didn't know I was watching it. I even dressed up as the Crow when I was like in 6th grade for Halloween. But I loved it. It's a dark love story. It's a, like bleeding love, bleeding heart. And so that's just the way my love is. And so one of those things for me is to have a piece of him. That medal is, he got, I can't remember, I don't know if I'm going to say this correctly. So he might talk to me later and be like, that's not, I know it's Valor. I think it's the Medal of Valor or something like that. And it was important, a very important medal for him. And one day he gave it to me and he said, you're very important to me. And I just cherished it so much because I knew how that was one of his biggest life achievements. And so, yeah, I have it. I don't wear those boots every day, but when I do, it's tied up into the laces so that I can look down and just have that moment to cherish them.
You guys also enjoy what you call your adult nights together, your favorite restaurants, I think Coastal Fish, Flight, Southern Social, Porch and Parlor. I believe those are some of them.
Mm-hmm.
They're owned by, the same group here. What makes those nights so special for you?
So when we got married, and I think it helped that we split for 2 months before, because we learned to appreciate, he fought really hard to get that relationship back. And he told me, he's like, I never want to feel that way again. And when we got married, he was like, he was like, I've been divorced. Maybe I didn't do all the things I was supposed to do. It didn't work out. He was like, but this time I want to do all the things. I don't want to just fall into that mundane, see you when I get home, wake up, go to work. And so he was like, we're going to do a date night every week. And so it's now become like we do a date night every week, but now our going out is every other week. It can get a little expensive. I love those restaurants, but
they are expensive.
I was like, we can't be doing that all the time. So we'll do we do the half shell is generally that was where we had our first date, and then we'll do one of the Porch and Parlor or Southern Social from that restaurant group once a month, and then normally the other two he likes grilling out. I got him a Traeger, and so he'll just grill out on the Traeger for me. But yeah, those restaurants are really special to us. Not only because we spent some of our after our first dates, those were like kind of we went around to those, but we've shared special memories with some very dear friends of ours. I write a lot about Andrea and Trey Letard and Joelle and Evan Elliott. We try to get with them once a month. Even though Andrea and Trey moved to Florida, they come back, and that's generally the restaurant chain we go to. So not only do Greg and I have good times there, those couples are like family to us. So we have family times there, with our friends.
I can remember many a late night. I've been to the half shell. It's probably about a year ago, but many a late nights at the half shell on the way home from being downtown, going out, stopping there to eat 2:30 in the morning.
Oh yeah.
Get yourself sobered up a little bit, but yeah, right. I love the half shell.
Yeah. Half shell's great. Actually, Joelle Pittman, one of the, Joelle Elliott, her name was Joelle Pittman. Her father used to own the half shell too. So it's funny that she actually set Greg and I up after she went on a Bumble date with him.
Right.
Then she set us up. And then our first date was at her father's old restaurant. It was we didn't plan it that way. It just worked out that way.
Synchronicity.
Yeah.
Just like you've talked about how, you guys were together and then you split up for a few months, and you call it the entire roller coaster of a story that is us. You said this story involves Greg's Bumble date, breakups, new relationships, music, secret getaways, pregnancy, and even Priscilla Presley. Share, if you would, share with the audience about how, that got started, how it fell apart, how you came together with the medal he left at your door, and then the trip. And then the FedEx package in his living room.
Yeah, I did tell all of that on there, didn't I? You nailed it, like exactly how it went. We were together 9 months. And like any person who is scarred from divorce, he was dating, I was dating, but because of his very, I call volatile situation with his previous marriage. There was no meeting, I wasn't supposed to meet the child for a certain 4 months or whatever, which even though the 4 months came, I didn't meet him. I mean, it was much later than that, which I struggle with that. I was thinking, we've done the due diligence. We're not doing anything wrong at this point, but to me, that signaled, that maybe he wasn't serious about me. To him, he was telling me, you don't understand. The minute my son starts talking about you, I'm going to get papers. And I was like, whatever, this is, now I know that to be true. But so I left. I was like, it's not that I'm trying to marry you or any of those things. I just, I don't want just part of you. If this is going to be a long-term thing, even if we date and never get married, I don't want part of someone. I want all of someone. And that was really it. And so I left. And then after 2 months of that, I was going on dates, seeing other people, and I think he heard through the grapevine. And that's when the 24 roses showed up on the doorstep. Some Nike Air Nikes, what are they? The
Air Jordan?
Air Force Ones. Air Force Ones.
One.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, those showed up. His medal. He told me, that it was special to him. He actually wrote a letter that said he didn't deserve it unless I gave it back to him, which I was like, oh. Then the leather bound journal. I mean, he was pulling on the heartstrings. So yeah, we ended up. He ended up convincing me. After I split up with the person that I had kind of been dating for the summer romance, I guess. He ended up convincing me to go to Hot Springs with him. And so I was like, it's one of my favorite places. He had never been, and he knew I had talked about it a lot, but I was like, I just don't, this is kind of crazy. Like, I'm going to have to eat crow because I basically told my parents that, this a-hole,
Right.
how you do.
Right.
So I'm like, oh man, I was like, I'll never, and then, and it was more out of hurt, just saying things to kind of get myself through it. And he convinced me, and I went, and it was very unexpected. We walked past Laray's, which is the ring store there. And he goes, let's go look. And of course, at that point, I'm like, this is way too fast or whatever, I had those feelings inside, but also, I mean, diamonds are a girl's best friend. So I'm like, okay, we can look. And so it was just casual looking, and then he was like, what one would you like? And I'm like, I hope this, I was like, hopefully he's not that I didn't want him to buy it then, but I also was like, whoa, we're just started talking yesterday again, And so I did point, I was like, oh, this is unique. And I fell in love with the ring that I have now. And then all of a sudden, 2 months later, I think roughly 2 months later, a FedEx package came, and I was at his house, and he goes, there's going to be a FedEx package probably arrived today. I'll be at work, but don't open it. And I was like, okay. And I didn't, but when it arrived, it did have who it was from on it.
Oh.
And I was like, oh, okay. And yeah, he was going to do some big thing. And, he just couldn't wait. I mean, he got home and we were hanging out, and he had brought home steaks and brought me some wine. And then he was like, do you want to know what's in that package? And I'm like, yeah, I want to know. And he goes, are you sure? Because, I was going to plan something. I'm like, I've already done this once before. I had the whole whatever engagement. I was like, just show me what's in the back. I'm like, what's in the box? And so right there in his living room that evening, it was a cold October night. How the temperature's dropping now, and his fireplace was on, and he just asked me right in his living room, and it couldn't have been any better, more perfect than it was.
Great story.
Thank you.
What are the most important lessons you've learned in life?
The most important lessons, I would definitely say a lot of it I've talked about, but being careful not to judge other people, being kind and empathetic to other people, because you don't know what they're going through mentally, at home. My job, and I'm doing better about it, but my job is to show the good side of life. I promised everyone this year I was going to be way more transparent and show. I mean, I have moments of, ugly cry face and all of that, and I, need to be transparent about it, because there are a lot of people that go through that. But what all that to say is, you don't know what people are going through, and to judge people or to be hateful or ugly to them without knowing that is just doing yourself a disservice. I mean, assuming, my dad always says, assuming makes an ass out of you and me. I think that was on Laverne and Shirley. I'm not sure, but he's like, don't assume, just, don't assume everything's perfect and great, because as a few stories I've told you today, it's not always that way. Other life lessons, I would definitely say one of my biggest ones is, don't not seize your dreams and your passion and the things that you want to do, even if you think that there could be failure. Or even if you think like so-and-so is going to get mad at me, or, that's not expected of me, or, like society wants me to be this way, this box, you're put in a box. And so you don't want to like people to be like, when you do, like whatever you want to do it, just do it. Because the worst thing is to be 90, hopefully I'll live to 90 or 100, who knows, but to be that old and knowing you're about to take your last breath, and to be like, that one moment when I was 30 and I didn't do it. And I wonder how that would have been. Would my life have been completely different? You know what I mean?
Right.
So that's my biggest advice to people.
How can people find you and follow you on social media, and, and where are they going to be able to pick up your book when it comes out?
So my Instagram is alexandra.nicole. The blog is citychicliving.com. It's city, CHIC living.com. And I do have a link there to purchase the book. The book will be available at every major retailer online, Barnes & Noble, Target, Amazon, all of those. I'm working on getting it into physical brick and mortar stores as we speak. So I don't have a list of that right now. But I'm finishing up the back design of the book tonight, and I'm hoping to have it submitted and going to print at least by Tuesday. So I'll probably be pulling an all-nighter tonight on that. But yeah, so it will be out this month. My goal was next week. It just depends on once it's submitted. They say 3 to 5 business days, so I may have it by next week. But yeah, so you can pre-order on citychicliving.com.
If somebody is interested in learning from you, taking your online course, how can they email you?
So you can go to learnunconventional.com if you want to check out the courses that are there. The big one, the Unconventional Entrepreneur course, is not going to launch until this book does. So that should be available before the end of the month. Because it kind of goes with the book. I won't say the book's a textbook to the course, but if you read the book and you do some of the work in the book, then there's extra things that can just like take it to the next level in the course. Or my email is hello@citychicliving.com. I always answer. Like I said, I love to mentor. If people want to bounce ideas off of me, just whatever ideas, I always say you can email or even just message me on Instagram. I do talk to a lot of people on Instagram about business ideas and aspirations and stuff.
Yours is such a story of both hard and smart work, staying focused, despite, on your goals, despite many obstacles that have come in your way. You made a lot of sacrifices along the way, you being fully transparent with people, and, lots of smiling and laughing, and love will do that. There's no doubt in my mind that even though that you've been at this now for, I guess, a little bit over 10 years, this is just the beginning for you. And I look forward to watching your continuous journey, both with your business and your family online, because it's not only learn stuff about different products and everything, you're really entertaining.
Oh, I am. Thank you.
Yes. You're very
Sometimes I think I'm such a nerd. I'm like, oh gosh, I look at it and I'm like cringe. I'm like, people are going to be like, God, that girl is not funny and she is nerdy. But thank you. That means a lot.
It is fun. So you are funny. So I promise.
Thank you.
I know you're really busy, so I really appreciate you coming on today. So thanks again.
Thank you so much for having me. This has been fun.
My pleasure.